again, a topic not everybody wants to talk about, a little too much drinking. And obviously, people joke about the pandemic 30, adding 30 pounds, but also kind of the quiet thing that people aren't talking about is that sometimes there was a little bit too much drinking. And maybe because people felt so comfortable at home or because they felt sad. So I'm curious, I know you also have a daughter who's as a real estate agent, and I'm curious on what your experience has been and what your insights are to this topic.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. It's Jennifer J. Yay! Hammond, and I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I have a really great guest for us today. And this is Dana Golden, and she has a great story, but we're going to take on some tough topics. So first of all, welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's talk. Let's jump in. With all these virtual happy hours during the pandemic, as real estate agents especially, boy, we really were starting to have these virtual happy hours. And there seems to be a little bit, again, a topic not everybody wants to talk about, a little too much drinking. And obviously, people joke about the pandemic 30, adding 30 pounds, but also kind of the quiet thing that people aren't talking about is that sometimes there was a little bit too much drinking. And maybe because people felt so comfortable at home or because they felt sad. I mean, we can talk about all the causes of it. But now they're coming out of the pandemic and realizing, okay, maybe I drank too much. Maybe I'm getting in a bad habit of having a little too much wine every single night. It's created some bad habits. So I'm curious, I know you also have a daughter who's as a real estate agent, and I'm curious on what your experience has been and what your insights are to this topic.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts and insights into this topic. So as an addiction specialist, this is kind of my area of expertise. And as realtors and salespeople in general, we tend to be extroverts. Right? We're very social beings, and we love that getting out and being social, right? And when we couldn't do that through the pandemic, that's when our virtual happy hours started. We were watching lots of TikToks with wine o'clock, and we were laughing about them. So a lot of overconsumption of alcohol. The biggest hard hitting was for women in particular. And now people are questioning their habits because you went to have a glass of wine, but you're at home and you might as well finish the whole bottle. You don't have to drive anywhere. So yeah, the habits have changed. And along with that has come this gray area drinking, which has spurred the sober curious movement. Would you like me to explain a little about those?
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay, so gray area drinking are people that do not identify as alcoholic. They do not have a dependency on alcohol, but they find their consumption is somewhere between moderate and rock bottom. And where is that? And is it too much? Because my habits have changed. And being a gray area drinker and starting to question your relationship with alcohol has really spurred the sober curious movement. And more people are jumping on board. We have 30-day challenges like Dry January and Sober October, and people are trying on life without alcohol.
And I was going to say, one of the things I would love to talk about a little bit is the indicators. So what are the things, I actually want to talk about two things. One, the justifiers, like you actually just highlighted one. Well, I'm not driving. So what does it matter if I have one glass or, the whole bottle? But also some of the other justifiers. And then what are some of the things that somebody could possibly be looking at for themselves to see if, what is normal as far as having a glass of wine or having a little bit versus, as you said, moderate to, oh my gosh, down the rabbit hole, terrible shape with their alcohol relationship.
Right. So average, normal, 2-3 glasses of wine in an entire evening for a woman, 4 to 5 for a male, is kind of moderate and acceptable. So if it's starting to go over that, you may want to kind of think about the consumption of that. And the justifiers, there's so many, right? Oh, I had such a bad day. Oh, my kids are driving me crazy. I need a drink. Oh, I just want to relax. I'm not as bad as that friend over there. You see how much that one drinks, right? So we can come up with all these excuses that justify us continuing our drinking. But start to consider why you're drinking, right? Like, what's behind it for you? Maybe make a pros and cons list of the benefits and the liabilities. Anxiety is now a scientific diagnosis, right? The combination of being hungover and the anxiety of, I drank too much. Should I have drank that much? All the questions we ask ourselves, and losing productivity during our days and weekends, right? Like losing a whole day to being that hungover. So, and consequences in the workplace too, just not being able to focus and be as productive as we want to be in the workplace. So these are all things to consider when you want to think about your relationship with alcohol.
And talk a little bit more about that sober curious movement. Like, how did that name even come about?
It's been around since about 2018, but it's really spurred attention and traction through the pandemic. I don't know where that actual name came from or who coined the phrase sober curious, but it obviously works. And the sober curious is just starting to reevaluate, do I want to try not drinking, right? And if you can't not drink, obviously you need to seek more kinds of help than just staying dry for the month, right? I don't subscribe to not drinking at all because I don't have an issue with it, but I often during the year take a month off. If it's a problem to take a month off, it's a problem for you, right? So, right. Yeah.
That would be, as I asked earlier about the indicators. I think it's really important to be self-aware enough to have indicators, but I'm also curious what your viewpoint is if you notice. So what if you are a real estate agent and you notice that you have a friend who is just really kind of pushing that into an unhealthy zone, and for whatever reason, they're not aware of it. I mean, I hate to say, but I think so often, sometimes I put mirrors up in inconvenient places. I say inconvenient because it makes me look at myself so that I don't get myself too far out of shape because I've been eating too much ice cream or doing whatever, goofing off. And I think that sometimes we don't have a mirror in our lives unless someone else points it out for ourselves. And so I'm curious on what you would suggest if you notice another fellow real estate agent who is just going a little bit too overboard with alcohol since the pandemic.
Yeah, I think the first thing is you've got to be transparent and you can't be awkward about it. Yeah. Right. You can't approach it like, oh, I'm so scared to tell you this. You just got to have a conversation. Right. And it's just a casual thing. Hey, we were out the other night. I felt like maybe I had too much to drink. I was a little hungover the next day. How are you doing with yours? Kind of don't put it on them, but talk about you in this situation. Then it gives them permission to talk about their experiences and what they're going through. And then maybe make a suggestion. Hey, next time we go to one of those virtual happy hours, let's try a mocktail. Let's not have a drink. Let's see how that goes. And there's so many lines of beverages out right now. I mean, there's a ton of celebrities, Blake Lively and Bella Hadid. They all have non-alcoholic beverage lines, and they're putting botanicals and euphorics in there to give you a relaxation feeling or a euphoric feeling. And you can Google them. Kava root's a big one that they're putting in drinks right now from the Pacific Islands. It's supposed to give you a nice little buzz without a hangover or the alcohol. So there's all kinds of alternatives. So if you're getting together with that friend, say, hey, let's try this on. Let's see if maybe we'll feel so much better tomorrow. Right. And just kind of feel them out.
I think it's really important. I think that's great because not confronting someone in an accusatory way, I think is also really important, is also just being able to, share someone's viewpoint and then just open the dialogue there to let somebody be able to communicate whatever they're feeling, because everybody has a different viewpoint and it's really important. So before I get off of this, I wanted to see if you would share a little bit about your story and why are you so interested in this topic?
Okay, so I lived pretty much my entire life on the other side of addiction, right? I grew up in a home with a father that was an addict, and then I sought out addictive relationships. I was engaged to a drug addict, alcoholic. I got him to treatment, and they told me when I got him there, go to Al-Anon. And I said, I don't have a problem. I don't need to go anywhere. You need to fix him, right? And so being the dutiful good girlfriend, because I was such an enabler and codependent. Okay, I'm going to be the good girlfriend. I'll go to Al-Anon. And quickly I realized that I needed to work on myself, and I can't put all the responsibility on the alcoholic because I'm engaging in these relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So then many years in Al-Anon, many years in therapy, figuring my stuff out. I fell in love with a man that was a recovering alcoholic, well, really more drug addict, but recovering for 3 years. So I was like, oh yes, I finally got a good one, right? He's been through all his, personal development. He knows what to do. He's on the right path. He's sober. Right. Okay. Get married. We have 2 kids. We own a multi-million-dollar brokerage firm. Everything was great, except he had knee surgery and relapsed when they gave him a prescription of OxyContin for his pain, right? And that was just the beginning to the end of everything for us. It quickly turned into buying on the black market, money more than he was prescribed, turned into heroin and gambling, and he ended up bankrupting the business. I actually divorced him before that happened, but financially bankrupted our whole family, and went to prison for 5 years for mail-in wire fraud and money laundering through the business. So I got to experience all of that. I worked on keeping my kids safe and myself protected during all that, which is why I did divorce him and took care of the family. But it's always been there, right? No matter how good I did getting out of that and taking care of my kids, who, as we know, one is a real estate agent for Sotheby's in Boca Raton right now. They're both great, but I had to navigate through that. When he got out of prison, it became our mission to help other families. So he is now an intervention professional and a sober coach. I'm a sober coach and a family recovery coach. And my passion really lies with working with the families to help them navigate through the wreckage that addiction destroys and causes.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think that your life experience also puts you in a very unique position to be able to understand when someone else is going through it, and especially when they're not at a point where they can completely see it for themselves. And so, again, this is such a great topic and one that needs to continue talking about, especially for real estate agents. We was just talking about it with other salespeople in general. I was talking to car salesmen, ladies, who, it was funny. We were talking about the fact that sometimes we have a tendency to eat horribly, never mind the alcohol or other things that we do that are not healthy. And that has to do with a lot of, just the stress and how much pressure we have on to, close the deal. And it's interesting to see. So it's important to have somebody you can communicate with. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. So I wanted to make sure people, if they wanted to know more about you and what you're doing, can you go ahead and tell them about website, social media, anything you have that you want to share?
Yeah. And one thing I do want to share, talking about the food, is I just want to say that all obsessive compulsive behaviors and doing and using has the same reaction in the brain. It doesn't matter if it's food or drugs or alcohol or sex or gaming or whatever it might be. It releases chemicals in the brain that make us feel good, right? I did write a book called Addiction Rescue, the No BS Guide to Recovery, and it covers the gamut. If you're just working, anything that's out of balance in your life, whether it's work or your relationship or whatever it might be, it all can be addressed in the same manner. And there's no one size fits all approach. There has to be options that suit everybody's needs. So that's all in that book. So I just want to throw that out there. First of all, you can get it anywhere, Amazon, whatever, Addiction Rescue. To get a hold of me, you can find me at the website, theliferecoverycoach.com. You can email me at dana@theliferecoverycoach.com. I'm happy to help anybody in this arena. I mean, whether you just have questions, if you're so curious, if you want to get on that path, there's so many options. There's so many communities out there for trying this on. There's Club Soda, there's Tempest, there's Sober Sis, the Luckiest Club. There's just tons of online resources to dip your toes in, see what it feels like.
Well done. Well said. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that you're dedicated your life to this, because again, like I said, sometimes it can be a sensitive topic that people don't want. And partly because a lot of times that's the first time that they're really confronting that it might have been a lifelong pattern, as you've kind of alluded to. So anyway, I want to make sure that before, we talk about tough subjects, but I always am looking for the beautiful silver lining and the yay in today. So I'm going to ask you as we go off the air to go ahead and lift your voice and say yay with me. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. 3, 2, 1. Yay! We'll celebrate all of those women. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer. It was such a pleasure.
Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And if you want more help in getting from where you are to where you want to be, I want to encourage you to listen to the Jennifer Hammond Show.